another video about the L9000. It's not here, it's across the street. And you can see there's a whole lot of nothing in here because the Lodestar got taken to my shop to get put away for the winter. So, and the other reason there's nothing in here is because I re-poured concrete approaches for both the garage and the barn this week. So you can see I actually had a big crack in the floor. They had never separated the pour for the floor from the old approach, which was for a smaller door. Actually, I put this door on and added a post, took a post out, added a post, and added a bigger header so I could have a 9 foot high by 10 foot wide door. So anyway, long story short, and yada yada yada. That concrete's still curing, so we got nothing able to come in here. So it's a perfect time to tackle this project that I've actually been really itching to do it, just haven't had the time, and it's not something I want to rush. I want to take my time on and relax. And that project is that a lot of people have made comments in the L9000 videos like, hey, looks great, but needs a visor, needs a visor, needs a visor.
Yup! Do you want to go do karate in the garage? Yup!
So I know it needs a visor. The problem I have is I have two options for visors on the L9000. One of them is the factory fiberglass visors, which are out there. They're not super cheap. I had one I could have bought that was actually in reasonable shape. I could have got it for 180 bucks plus shipping, would have been about 300 bucks overall. And that was a good option. All I had to do was, I'm sure I would have had to sand it a little bit, but basically paint it and install it. And I like the factory visors, don't get me wrong. They're just not quite the look I'm going for. Option two is there's a drop visor out there, a chrome drop visor. It's available. It's about 600 bucks, $600 to $700, depending on where you find it. It's not very common, but it's out there. I just don't like the look of, to be honest with you, and I might get some differing opinions, but I don't like heavy drop visors on just about anything. I don't love drop visors on 379s and 389s and W900 Kenworths. I don't care for the look. So a little bit of a drop, sure, but like those 10 and 12 inch drop visors, you can keep it. Not my style. Just a little too over the top. So I like tasteful add-ons, and that's not tasteful to me. But to each his own. If you guys like it, and people who own those trucks, if they like them, that's their truck, and they can do whatever they want with it. So I'm gonna do what I want, and that is, if you look over here, I got a sheet of, I can't remember now, honestly, what it is. I believe it's 18 gauge. But anyway, I got sheet metal. And I got some flat bar and some round stock over here. And I got some measurements I took. We're going to make us a visor. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I may hate it, and it may never go on the truck. Needless to say, we're not going to drill holes in the truck until this thing is built and it fits the way I want. And then at that point, we will paint the visor and install it on the truck. I'm going to get to work. I'll take you guys along and let's see what we come up with. All right, well, it's another day. I'm back at the visor project for the L9000. So, obviously I've got the angle. I think I've got the angle now where I want it. I've not done anything with the mounting flanges, tabs, whatever you want to call them, because until I get some welding done and the angle's right, I don't want to touch that. I'm going to do some test fitting. So what I have, though, is, you can see I've scribed a mark. I went out to the truck and I measured what the angle is, from the center of the windshield back to the curved edges. And that only loses about 2.5 inches on each side. So what I've got here is I measured the straight from corner to corner. I had a pre-bend, but it's just approximate. And then I measured that at 2.5 inches to the center. So we're walking back 2.5 inches each way. So now I'm going to use that piece of flat stock, and I'm going to turn it so it strengthens it in the direction that it holds that angle and keeps this whole thing from wobbling a little bit. Now we're going to use just some small diameter, some 1/4 inch round stock on the lower edge. That'll give it a nice, just enough of a bead so I don't have a finished sharp edge on the bottom, just a little bit of strength and rigidity. but more of a finished look. I'll do that on the bottoms and the sides up to the tab. Obviously the tab's going to have to sit flush, so we'll worry about that later, but we'll see what that gives us. If I need to do any vertical stiffening, we'll get what I'm planning on first, and then we'll go from there. So let's get to welding. All right, so there's the mock-up, and amazingly enough, it doesn't look half bad. So that level's holding it a little higher than it would sit, but we're close, that's for sure. All right, guys, so here's where I'm at. You can see I've changed this a lot. So the test fit, it looked okay, but it wasn't really mountable. Some funky angles. I just didn't love it. So because the Louisville cabs have such a curve on the windshield, they're not flat glass by any means. What I did was I found the center point to the edges. It is a hair wide, but I can make that up in my brackets because the angles need to change anyway. And obviously once I pinch it in like this, it's actually going to get a little narrower. So I left it where it's at for now, knowing I can always cut it down the middle and seam it. But I cut a relief in the top and in the round stock in the bottom on each side. And then I just scored it through the middle, which took out some of the heat fluctuation I had actually. And then I re-welded it at an angle. So as you can see, now it's a compound angle, which is going to fit that glass better. So I don't know if it's going to be right what we're going to do. And then I took off the edges square, because trying to guess at that and hold this up just isn't working. So what I'm going to do instead is take that cardboard box over there and cut some flaps out of it, and I'm going to get this propped up on some 2x4s over on the truck, and then I can mark out some brackets and come up with some angles, and maybe we come back and get those on if this works. We'll see.
Because it's all part of the plan.
Okay, well, I didn't take any shots, but that didn't work. It was better, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. And then we actually had too much bend in the middle. It just doesn't want to rest on that roof line the way I want and still keep the markers visible. So slice that and straighten that out a bit actually. And then I made some marks while I was out there, and you can see where I took some arches out of. That one looks better than the other one. It's a better cut, but I don't know if you can see, but it's a nice smooth flow on the inside, and then it has the notchy look on the outside, which I don't mind. So we'll go test fit her again. All right, so here's what I've got. I went out and test fit on the truck one more time. This is perfect. It's the right angles, it's the right width, it's everything we need. But this sheet metal, as boxed in as it is and shaped and formed to the visor itself, this is not, it's probably honestly thick enough, but I just don't trust it, so we're not gonna run it. What I want is some 1/8. So I've cut a piece of 1/8 that I can weld in, but I don't want to have the sandwich effect for corrosion. So you can see where I started to make my cut. We're gonna make a cut so we can do a lap weld, and then we're gonna put that just a little scallop shape on it. That's purely for look. Still get the strength of the weld all the way across the face of this piece, but this would just be hanging in the air above the form of the cab, so I don't need it there. So I'll throw it on time lapse and show you what we're gonna do here. done with the fabrication side. You can see, you watched in the time lapse there, I added this this tube steel round stock for, it's just for looks mostly, to finish off that line. I like the rounded edge just as a, and also I don't have, it's not super structural, so I'm not welding anything in there because I don't want to have to finish that weld. I think it's going to finish off, or it's going to make it look unfinished by welding it. So got this extra steel, that's 1/8 inch, bonded in with, I used the thin stuff to get the angle. I boxed the thin back to the face and back to the roll over here on the 1/8 and back, or on the edge, and then back to the 1/8 inch that's on the top of this whole visor. So this is the side I welded first, so it's cool. But this is super strong now. This isn't going anywhere. It's boxed in multiple directions. So now I can spot out and drill a couple holes and then start finishing. The only weld that I am not going to work much on is that one there. I'm going to body work that because I don't want to keep playing with it and heating that thin stuff. I thought about doing the round stock on all these seams, but I didn't like the fact that I was going to see a weld. Even if I only welded at top and bottom, it was going to clatter around and potentially break, and I just think that's a little too busy. I want it to look somewhat clean. So you guys know I like the clean look, so I just welded those back in. We'll finish those off, make them look as good as we can. And there's the other side. Got the same thing going on. You can see the angle that matches the cab angle on those mounts right there. And the same thing, we got our round stock to finish off those edges. But yeah, I think that's the fab work basically done. Now it's time to grind and sand and flap wheel and sand and body work and drill, and I'm going to skip over a lot of that because it's not very interesting, and we'll see how close we can get this thing to paint today. Okay guys, well, I don't even know how long it's been since I recorded any footage on this visor, but it's been a while. It's been a minute. I think I started this in early December, and it is definitely mid-January at this point. But 6 weeks, whatever. It was the holidays, and I had a whole bunch of projects. You guys have seen a fair amount of them that I've been doing in between. So it's a Sunday. Yesterday I had some time. Been working with my daughter on our train set that has been like 4 years in the making because I get distracted by trucks. But long story short, yesterday I kind of split my time between that and this. Sanding took much longer than I anticipated, but it's done. We didn't get to 400. I went through 220. This epoxy primer's got some thickness to it, and we're doing base clear over it, and it's a visor that's not by any means perfect. So I did got the mud all sanded down, so 40 grit through 220, and all the metal, and did 220 on the inside. I didn't get those, not trying to get these welds absolutely perfect. They're there. Yeah, so it's been wiped down with wax and grease remover. We'll do one last, it's wiping pretty clean at this point, but we'll do one last final wipe for dust and whatnot right before we shoot. I've got my respirator and more wipes and the gun ready to go. Oops, we got the seat peeking out here. We need to keep that covered up. And I've blown and vacuumed and cleaned up the shop as best I can anyway. It's always dusty in here. It is what it is. I need to get me one of those, I keep seeing on the old YouTubes, those Visor inflatable paint booths, drive-in paint booths. I would definitely like to demo one of those if Visor wants to sponsor me. I'm all in on that. But anyway, I've got my direct to metal epoxy primer is in the incubation period here. It's been incubating or catalyzing or whatever it does here for 20 minutes or so. So we got another 30-40 minutes before that's ready to shoot, but it's going. And we've got our base coat ready to mix up, and then we've got our clear coat ready to mix up. So so we've got all the tools of the trade ready to go. I did also, this is going to be the first test. If you guys watched my video a few weeks ago on some of my shop upgrades, especially on my air system, I went to a triple filter regulator and filter and water removal system, and it's working. All the sanding I did with the DA the last couple days, those anti-desiccant beads definitely went pink. That's the old set right there. So they absorb quite a bit of water, ready to go in the oven and get reactivated. So I just refilled that. We're back to fancy blue beads, and we'll still run a water remover there on the gun. But yeah, we're ready. So as always, I haven't painted in a while, so I'll set you guys up on the old what's that stuff called? God, I'm forgetful in my old age.
Damn it, blue is old. That's what old people do, they die.
The old time lapse is the word I'm looking for. And see what this thing looks like. And then again, as always, through the magic of television and loo tubes, when we put this thing on in a few days, you guys will just think it's all like snap, like that. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's nice and early. I'm out in the barn. I can't sleep in like my family enjoys doing. I just don't need that much sleep, and I got things I want to work on.
Does not stop and start at your convenience, you miserable piece of...
Anyway, let me show you what we've got to put on the truck. All right, there we go. I know there's 2 visors, and only one of them is the one that you just watched me toiling on. In full disclosure, it's a week or 2 after I actually painted that visor, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like it. I don't know if I'd say I hate it, but it's close.
I'm sure of it. I hate him.
I don't like the body work. I mean, you guys can probably see it there. The wrinkles that I hoped just wouldn't show. You know, sometimes we make mistakes.
You're fired.
Sometimes those mistakes take 12 to 14 hours of our lives. But I had a good time doing it. It just didn't pan out. I mean, it happens sometimes. It is what it is. In retrospect, if I could do it again, I'd have built a framework, and I'd have built it right off the truck. I'd have done what I should have done, like I did right now, and I'd have pulled the truck in here and been able to work it that way. And I'd have built a framework, like I said, and then I would have, you know, either probably riveted or bolted some sheet metal to that framework versus trying to weld it. But anyway, it's pretty. The paint turned out pretty nice on it. But this is what we're going to mount. I'll show you a little footage, but once I had this up there and mounted, I hated it, and I found one at a junkyard and went and bought it. And yesterday I painted it. So it's all hardened up, all epoxied and base cleared, just like you saw me do with that one. I did with this one. And it's ready to get set up there and mark some hole locations, get everything drilled and whatnot. And I gotta go run and get some fasteners here in a little bit, but we'll get it up on the truck and get it going. All right, well, here we are. And I haven't been to a junkyard in quite some time. It's been a year or two. I can't even really remember. But anyway, it's been a minute. It's always a good time. I already see some fun stuff they got in here. Look at that, our model. All sorts of good stuff. Man, the parts I could accrue. Front cutoffs, all sorts of front cutoffs. Ooh, the Paystar, look at that. Old well drilling truck. S-Series International, Sterling. Buses. Fire trucks. GM, there's some nice Mac DMs. Workhorses there. Whole bunch of City of Toledo garbage truck Macs there. Stuff in various stages of getting cut up. Oh, I just spotted the first L9000. Oh, I see an L9000 sitting back there. I don't know if this is a yard I can walk or not. I don't have a ton of time today, but I mean, obviously I wouldn't mind. There's another LT9000. There's an LA9000. Boy, they don't put the office at the front of this place, do they? That's all right. I'm enjoying myself driving through. All right, guys. Well, I just got back in the truck. I'm not going to walk the yard because, to be honest with you, I don't have time. I need to get back home because I got a wedding to go to tonight. But I don't know if you can see there, this school bus that's parked. The guy at the counter and I were joking about it. And then I came back out. If any of you guys ever watched, it's actually my favorite show of all time, is Justified from a few years ago. That says Harlan County Schools on it. Strange. Here's what we got. A factory style Ford Visor. Lund makes these. This one actually still has the Lund tag on it, so it was aftermarket. There's the part number. Obviously Ford wouldn't have put that on, but she's in pretty good shape. The only blemish was right there. There's a little chip, and other than just there's like overspray and dust and dirt and stuff on it, that's nothing there. That's just like something stuck to it, and there's a little bit of cracking right there. Not in the fiberglass itself, just in the gel coat. So, it's on an unviewed portion up top on the roof. So I'm gonna scuff this all up and see what it looks like. But that'll probably stay. And then depending on how there's some tiny, real shallow scuffs. But decide whether I'm gonna put a little mud on that or not. But yeah, should have just done this in the first place, right? I know everybody probably would have told me so. But I'm stubborn. Okay, well, there you have it. Nice backdrop of a nice snowy day to show off the new visor. Well, even though I wasted a whole lot of time trying to custom make a visor, I am there. I can see the whole truck. I am really glad I ended up going this route. Should have just done it from the start. Was trying to be a little cheap and a little creative, and yeah, it just didn't really pan out. So the factory visor just looks killer on these trucks.
I like this job. I like it.
There's no getting around it. So yeah, hope you like it. I sure as heck do. And hope you stick around for the next few videos as we kind of wrap this truck up. We're getting there, getting closer day by day. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a great week. Take her easy.